You're listening to Best Forevers, a podcast for kindred spirits, a podcast that encourages you to love more on your friends and to further consider the issues that plague friendships. I'm Alysa Lucas, and I'm getting mentally, emotionally, and spatially prepared, and by spatially I mean calendar-wise and planning, for the season. And although basketball's my jam, the season I'm referring to is the Thanksgiving to Valentine's holiday season. Yes, it's that time of year when it's stressful and we're still worrying about work, but we also have to think about gifts, and we have to think about travel, and we have to think about meals, and we have to think about our kids' school parties. And if you don't have kids, maybe it's coming up with the perfect Santa Claus outfit for your furry friend to go on the cards that you're going to create, and then you have to go through and make all those cards and mail them out, and yada, 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 yada. Whew! Holidays can be stressful. But what I'd like to do for this episode is think about how we can friend by thinking about this idea of love languages to make the holiday season a little bit better for all of us and to show our friends that we care about them in a time that is often stressful and focuses on other things besides friendship typically. So you've heard me talk about love languages a number of times on this particular podcast. And today I want to go through those 5 love languages in a little bit more detail and thinking about what we can do for our friends or what they might appreciate from us to show them that we care during this time. And then a fun bonus is that some of the other stresses of the holidays might go away. So the first time I talked about love languages was in episode 12, Heart Cry, with Meredith and Carly. They were best friends, and they came on to talk about how Carly, for, I believe it was Meredith's 22nd birthday, she got 22 respected and loved people in Meredith's life to write notes to Meredith for her birthday, and then she put them all together in this lovely book and presented it to her on her birthday. And if you want to see what the reaction was to that, you can hear about it in episode 12. But the thing is, we were all in tears, okay? We were all in tears. But the thing about it was Carly was really thoughtful and smart about this gift for someone that she loves so much. She knows that Meredith really appreciates words of affirmation, which is one of the 5 love languages. So if we know about our friends' love languages and we know about our own love languages, we can do a better job of fulfilling those needs over the holidays, which are often, as I've already mentioned, stressful. So the love languages, which you can find at the number 5, lovelanguages.com, and it'll also be in my show notes. Here you can take a quiz, it connects to the book, and you can learn more about the 5 love languages that we use as people. So I'll briefly talk about them, and then what I'm going to do this particular episode is talk about what we can do over the holidays with our friends thinking about love languages. So the 5 love languages, and as you might imagine from the name, that the love often refers to our romantic relationships. But I do think that love languages can apply in a lot of ways, including in friendship, and that's what I'm going to argue for today. So the 5 love languages are words of affirmation, which includes appreciation, praise, and other verbal messages. You have acts of service, which are doing different favors without any expectation of something in return. So it is doing something for your friend to help them. Another love language is physical touch. And that is exactly what it sounds. Go give your friends a hug, especially if that's their thing. If they do not like being touched, I would assume that physical touch is not their love language, and we need to figure something else out. Receiving gifts is one of the love languages, and gifts can range in a lot of different ways, including Carly's book of words of affirmation that she gave Meredith. Sometimes we buy things for our friends, sometimes we make things for our friends. And then finally, one that I think is probably pretty popular when it comes to friendship, and that is spending quality time together. So let's go ahead and talk about, and hopefully this will spark ideas for you as we enter this major, stressful, but fun season of the year. Okay, so words of affirmation. Again, we're focusing on praise and appreciation. And so one of the things that people often do already is they make holiday cards, or they write handwritten notes, or they give updates on their life and they send it out to a whole series of people. So one of the things might be that can be really overwhelming, and you can just spend all this time writing these notes. And now I think we're to the point where we make the cards and then we can print it out and send everyone the same thing, and then it saves time because we're only addressing the cards to people. But when you think about words of affirmation, that might not be what everyone enjoys. So think about the friends in your life. How many people would really appreciate getting a card talking about how much you're grateful for their friendship, enjoying the friendship, or just showing how much you appreciate them? That list of 100 cards that you have to send out might go down to, well, you're like, okay, Alysa, I still have to send some to the family. I still have to send to my son's teacher and that sort of thing. But think about your friends. You might be able to save some time and really, truly fulfill a person's needs because their love language is words of affirmation. So maybe you're like, oh gosh, that just got it down to, I know there's 3 friends that would really appreciate a nice note. And that's who you send it to. Again, maybe the goal here isn't to be efficient, but it is something that you can do because you're really, truly thinking about what your friend wants or needs, right? And you might be going, oh gosh, I don't know if my friend's love language is of words of affirmation. And that's something that you and your friends can do because the webpage that I indicated, 5lovelanguages.com, has a quiz that you can take. It sends you the score. And maybe even as you're listening, you're like, that sounds like my friend Jean, that sounds like my friend Sam, whatever the case is. But also you might be able to figure out your own love language and you can communicate that to your friends and other loved ones. So some other ideas for words of affirmation is thinking around Thanksgiving. So holiday cards, certainly you're like, I got it narrowed down to 3 people I know appreciate it, and you send out maybe season greetings, or maybe you do a card for Thanksgiving, a card for Christmas, Kwanzaa, Hanukkah, maybe do a New Year's Eve one, and you do a Valentine's Day card because you know they enjoy that. Or you're like, maybe it'll be season greetings, and that might be the best I can do. But one of the things is around Thanksgiving is thinking about, a lot of times people do challenges about being grateful or gratitude. You also on Thanksgiving typically go around the table and you say what you are grateful for, what you're thankful for. And so one way to do that with words of affirmation is, of course, you can send a card, and maybe that's the content of the card is communicating how grateful you are for their friendship. But there's other ways to do that. For example, you can do a Facebook post on this Thanksgiving. I'm really grateful for these things, including my friendships with, and then you can tag people, or maybe even it's not creating a post yourself, it's sharing something and tagging a friend in it that includes praise or appreciation or something funny that you both connect to. And so there's lots of ways that you can do words of affirmation, and it might be something you can do more frequently, or you can send a text message. Maybe you can create your own memes. There's meme generators. You can create memes that have your friends' pictures or the usual meme pictures, and you can put in your own funny Karen jokes like the murder of Karen's episode that we had. There's lots of things you can do. You can also find your friend's favorite quotes and send it to them. And so it's something that is getting at the idea that your friend appreciates and enjoys those words of affirmation. And you can find ways to do that, which wouldn't take a lot of time, certainly doesn't take a lot of money, and it really gets at how much you care about the person. And even more, you've been thoughtful about what they're more likely going to be interested in, or knowing that for some people, words of affirmation really shows to them how much people care for them. Now, not everyone's love language might be words of affirmation, so you're like, you know what, you can keep your Facebook post. I would like something else. And that's why love languages can be really helpful to understanding ourselves, understanding our friends and other loved ones, and really fulfilling sort of what they need, what makes them thrive, what makes them feel appreciated, what makes them feel loved. And sometimes it can be, Christmas, Hanukkah, it's just this idea that we're so focused on gifts, for example. And sometimes it could just be like you give a gift to give a gift, and it might not even be something that the person is interested in, or you just feel this pressure. And the thing about it is, gifts might not even be their love language, and maybe it's not really a gift directed at them. So why not think of something that's going to be better suited for them and better suited for you to give to them? So that's the very first one, words of affirmation. Now, when I was coming up with the list of things and ideas that I could share here, I was talking to Lauren, who guested on Is Honesty the Best Policy? And that's been in the last, I want to say, month or so that she was on. And one of the things that she said that people could do for words of affirmation is around the holiday time, because it can be stressful. People might be hosting parties, they might be hosting in-laws, and there's just a lot going on. You have this school party, you have presents to find for the teacher. You have people coming over for Thanksgiving. You have shopping to do, the Christmas tree or whatever the kit you're decorating. There's just an endless list of things. And so some of that can be maybe more stressful for others, especially if it's like, say, the first time you're hosting Thanksgiving, or it's the first time after the first holiday season after a divorce, right? One of the things is thinking about how you might be able to help them through verbal communication during a time that might be difficult for them. And this makes me think of Friendship Lessons, which was the 100th episode, which I'm still going to be like, woohoo, proud of that. My friend Carrie talked about remembering people's milestones, which can be both good and bad. And there are a number of milestones that can happen during the holiday season, from Thanksgiving to Valentine's Day. Could be the anniversary of someone's wedding, could be their birthday, could be an anniversary of a parent passing. It could be, there's so many things, and in knowing your friends, you know what those are. So maybe there is something to remember, to provide condolences, and so that would provide words of affirmation, but also being there for a friend who wants you to listen so they can vent about what's going on, what's stressing them out during the holiday season. Or maybe they're seeking advice, and that's how you can provide words of affirmation is, motivating them. I had a student say, thanks for gassing me up. I'm was getting them motivated to do well in theory, which is one of the classes I teach. Maybe you hype them up, you gas them up, you give them advice. Those all can be part of words of affirmation. Now, these words of affirmation, as you can tell, can come on social media, can come through text messages, notes, face-to-face, over the phone, and on FaceTime. There's lots of different ways to send messages. Verbal communication isn't only spoken, it is also written, and that comes in a lot of forms. So this is what I would consider one of the more popular love languages. I think this is one that a lot of people prescribe to, and it makes sense for friendship, right? That one of the primary reasons why we have friendship and we get together is to talk, right? We're there for our friends to accept us, to support us, and a lot of ways in which we do that is through words of affirmation. So I think that gives you a number of ideas that you can try this holiday season. And as we go through, certainly if you have other ideas, let's help each other out, because these are things that I thought of, I found on the internet, Lauren was thinking of, and there are a lot of ideas when we can band together and generate those ideas together. So if you have ideas for words of affirmation that you've done in the past that you're going to try to do this year, or you've been thinking about, or you just say, this would be really cool if someone did this, then be sure to either email me at bestforeverspod@gmail.com or at me at bestforeverspod on Facebook, Instagram, or Twitter. And don't forget to join the Best Forevers Pod closed group on Facebook. This is a group that I think is a nice little community that shares memes and articles and other positive things about friendship, and we discuss a lot of things that we're doing and our thoughts about different friendship issues. And this could be a place where we can share these ideas. Okay, so let's go into the second love language. The next one is acts of service, and these are things where you help someone out. Now, a few weeks ago, I was sick, and my friend Sarah, we had been texting, and so she knew I was sick, and so she texted me and said, what can I do to help you? Do you need some food? And I live by myself, and when you're sick, you don't really feel like going out. And yeah, I could have totally got, something delivered or Grubhub or whatever the case was. But she was like, I got you. And she went and I love guilty pleasure, especially when I'm sick. I love Panera's broccoli cheddar soup. And I know you're probably supposed to eat chicken noodles. Isn't that sort of the thing when you're sick? You're supposed to do that. But I love the broccoli cheddar soup. And there was one time 3 years ago, I was sick for 10 days. And I would go and I would go through the drive-thru and I'd be like, yeah, I need 4 orders of your broccoli cheddar. And then I eat for a few days and I go back out and do it. But it was so kind. She shows up and she's like, here's your soup. Feel better. And I open the bag and inside is 2 broccoli and cheddar soups. And I was practically in tears because, when you don't feel well, everything is traumatic. You're just like, oh my God. And it was so kind. And, I texted her, I was like, I'm in tears. This is amazing. Thank you so much. And she said to me, this is how I love to show people I love them. I like to show family and friends that I care about them by taking care of them. And so she had texted me and she said, 1 soup for now, 1 for later. And it was just the sweetest thing. And I think this story not only is to, give so much praise, words of affirmation to my friend Sarah, give her a shout out for her acts of service, but to show that maybe acts of service isn't your thing, but you might find that your friend is providing acts of service because that's how they can best show their affection for you. And so, I felt bad. I was like, oh no, it took time. I think I still owe her money for that. And here's the thing. She probably would say, you don't owe me anything because, again, this is how I show that I care. And my perhaps way of showing that I care is words of affirmation that I'm doing here on the podcast, sending her a text message and thanking her for what she did. So over the holiday, though, there's lots of ways to help people. And I think the number one thing that you might think of with acts of service is volunteering, right? So one of the things that you can do as a way to show your friend that you care and for them to do the same would be to go do volunteering together. So find an entity or an organization or a cause that you're interested in your town and make plans to do it together. So over the holidays, that's a lot of donations happen, a lot of volunteering might happen, and you might make it more enjoyable, or you can do it together as friends and show, maybe each do each other's causes. Like, okay, let's go to the soup kitchen, but then let's go walk the dogs at the, the Humane Society, I guess is what I'm thinking of. And in that way, you can show that you care for each other by doing that together. So acts of service, you can help people, but you can also do it together. So because it is stressful, and if you know that your friends are having their first Thanksgiving dinner at their house, maybe you can run errands for them. And here's the thing, thinking outside the holidays, and as you probably can guess, I'm really interested in how we can maintain friendships year round, because I had how to get ready to be friends at summer, how to get ready at the fall, how to get ready over the holiday season. That for me, maintaining our friendships year round is extremely important, and I think can benefit all of us if we do that. And even if it isn't the holiday season, I think that we know that we have friends who are struggling, and sometimes we are those people who are struggling. And, I was having a really bad week, and another friend, Sarah, who was on the episode Like Attracts Like, she looked in on my cats, gave them food, and then she saw that I could desperately use some help, and she washed my dishes. I didn't ask her. I came home and my dishes were washed, and I was practically in tears then. These are the kinds of things, that's what acts of service are. If you can see a friend needing help, or just say, you know what? You're throwing the New Year's Eve party, and I'm so excited to be invited. And my gift to you, or my act of service, if you will, is I'm going to clean up for you. Or how about we do it on New Year's Day? We'll come over, we'll make it a thing, I'll come help you. You can also cook together or cook for them. There's lots of different ways. Like, okay, I know you've been traveling a lot, and, I made an extra casserole. Okay, I can't think of another meal, but I know that casseroles are often easy to put together, and people often share those for different trying times when someone's passed or when someone's ill. But maybe it's one of those things that's just like, I know my friend has been doing so much, so what I can do for you is this. I know that you returned home yesterday. Let me bring dinner over for you tonight so that you don't have to worry about it. Here you go. Here's a meal. It'll cover you for a few days. That is a way to show that you care. It might not take a lot of time for you to make an extra meal. It might not be something that you would necessarily say fulfills a need for you, but it might be something that makes a huge difference for your friend. So there are also lots of acts of service. So again, let me know what those are. We'll brainstorm them together, and then we can have all these ideas that will run from now through February and even beyond to help our friends and to show them that we care and that we're thinking about them and that we love them and that we're glad we're friends. The next one, which might be a little bit more, that sounds romantic, right? Physical touch, right? Because, in romantic relationships, it's like, oh, my crush brushed my arm, and now we're holding hands, and then we had our first kiss, and then we started making babies or whatever people do, physical touch, right? It seems that's based on romance. But here's the thing. Physical touch is a love language for many people. I don't think it's as popular, say, as words of affirmation, but I still think it's a need that people have. Now, it is important to know what your friends' love languages are, because I know there's people out there listening that are like, oh, Alysa, I don't like to be touched. Like, not at all. Never. Don't do it. And so that might be like, okay, physical touch is off for this friend, on for this friend. And typically, though, you're like, okay, so my friend likes hugs, but we live 3,000 miles apart from each other. So how can we make these things happen? So when you are together, you can do hugs. I see people sending virtual hugs. There's gifts and memes and other things like that. But one of the things that we can do, and I really liked the conversation that Lauren and I had when we were brainstorming ideas, and that was creating space or things for our friend that would allow for physical touch. So one of the things that you could do is, as friends, you could go get facials together, or you could go get pedicures. And so it's someone else touching their feet. And if their jam is physical touch, they're getting the nice pedicure. So maybe like your love language is physical touch, so you're getting that pedicure, and your love language is words of affirmation, and you can talk while you get the pedicure. It's a great time for all. It's a win-win-win, right? You win by having the words of affirmation, they get a win because they get a pedicure and that physical touch, and then that local business gets a win because they get your business. #shoplocal. The other things that you can do is create things that allows for touch to happen, perhaps in other ways. So Lauren said, well, maybe you can create a mistletoe for them, and so it's something that you craft, and then you give to them and you put in their house, and that allows physical touch to happen among, other people, right? Like their romantic partner or whatever. You could also create, say, a face mask, and so then they get to participate in that sort of feeling of having physical touch, which can also come from creating different ways in which, let's say, to feel cozy, to feel like you're getting a hug. And so let me tell you a little secret. Hopefully this person isn't listening, but one of the Facebook groups I'm in, I've been a member, I think this is the 5th rotation I've done, where every 4 months, so it's been happening for years, we get assigned a male buddy, and then we send them things for 4 months, and then we reveal ourselves, and it's all like, thank you. And so it's fun to get mail, to get notes, to get things that you're hoping for. And one of the things, though, is that my buddy, who she doesn't know I'm her buddy right now unless she's a fan of the show, hi, is like, this is the time of year I like to become a hermit, and I really like to hunker down, and I like to be cozy and all that kind of good stuff. So what I did was I posted on Facebook, I blocked her. This is not a lot of work, but also a lot of work, right? Like I thought about all these things. And then I asked my Facebook friends, what are some of the things that you would enjoy in a care package that's about feeling cozy? So maybe you could send a friend a weighted blanket. That might feel like having a hug. Or cozy socks and tea and cocoa and a neck wrap that you warm up in the microwave, and a cozy throw blanket and, lavender scent, candles. Any of those sorts of things might not be precisely physical touch, but might fulfill your friend's need for that because it creates the space for them to feel like they're getting that hug. And so I would love to know what you do for your friends, or what are some ideas that you thought of when you realize, as you're listening to me perhaps, or after taking the quiz on 5lovelanguages.com, what are some of the things that you would do for a friend, or that you would want to be done for you if your love language is physical touch? This one might be a little bit more complicated for people, might take more thought to come up with, but I think there's definitely some ideas, and I would love to hear the ideas that you have as well. Now, obviously, holiday season, maybe not so much with Thanksgiving, not so much with New Year's Day, but maybe with Christmas, Kwanzaa, Hanukkah, and even Valentine's Day. The most obvious love language that we all probably fall pressure to or fall victim to feeling that pressure is receiving gifts. So it's finding the perfect gift. It's getting as many gifts as possible. And here's the thing, we shouldn't have to break our bank to show someone that we care. So certainly there is some really neat things that are out there that a friend would love and would know that you care so much because it was so thoughtful. And it might be something that's expensive, but it's also something that you can make yourself. It's something that might be free totally. And the idea is receiving gifts is a love language where that physical item might represent to someone that you care for them. But I don't think we should have to fall to all the external advertisements and the pressure that Christmas has to be perfect and it being perfect means having all these gifts. I don't think that's always the case. So I think there's some things that we can do over the holiday season that can show that we care for someone who does like and does enjoy getting gifts. So one of them might be, hey, I know it's the last day of work before the break and you're just exhausted and ready for the break, so I brought you a coffee. I know that you're not feeling well and, the kids are home for holiday break, so here's some tea, So it could go back to acts of service can overlap with receiving gifts, right? So it could be something as easy as bringing someone a cup of coffee or a chai tea. And the thing about it is you don't have to be in the same space as them to do that, right? You could send them a gift card to Starbucks or their local coffee shop. Here in Michigan, it's called Big B is the main one in my town, but also Ponder Coffee Company, which I adore. I go there almost every weekend to get their waffles, and their seasonal beverages are amazing. But it's one of those things that you might go, okay, so I live in Michigan. My friend lives in this town in California. What might be some of the places that they enjoy? And I can send it to them, and then they can have the coffee on me as it goes. And although I use PayPal, so many students now use Venmo, and I see them talking about on Twitter, like on the first day of school, their friend Venmos them money so they can get a coffee and start their semester out right. Or, hey, I know you're really busy, so here's some money on me to get a Diet Coke. And that could be something you do is using Venmo or PayPal just to be like, hey, here's $10, go get some noodles and company. Okay, I'm clearly hungry and thirsty because I'm like, get coffee, get tea, get alcohol, get noodles, get whatever. But those might be some fun ways that you can surprise a friend and give them something that is relatively inexpensive, but will go a long way for them. Another thing is sending them care packages in the mail. So like my buddy in my Facebook group who's going to get this package of cozy things, you could do something like that. You could do a care package like how to survive the holidays with your in-laws or just how to survive the holidays in general. It could be here's how to celebrate New Year's Eve without having to go out. And what I used to do is I often didn't have money for Christmas. And I know that my parents don't expect presents, but I'm also like, you made me and gave birth to me. Like, if anyone's going to get gifts, it should be them, right? But I never really had the money around that time. I usually had more money in February. And I'm also, as a relational scholar, be like, oh gosh, there's so much pressure around Valentine's Day to have a partner on this day. And that's why I'm so glad Leslie Knope created Galentine's Day so we can focus on friendship and other love and just focusing on love in general. So what I would do was send my friends and family little care packages around Valentine's Day, and what it would be candy and some other things in a card, but then I'd be like, here's one of the things that I love most, movies. Here's a movie I thought you would like. And I would go to, say, like Target or wherever and find these $5 DVDs of movies that I enjoyed or I thought my friends or my family would enjoy, and I would send them that. And so it's like being able to show people that you care for them with something small. And there's lots of ways, like mailing and doing all that can be expensive, but one of the things that you can do similarly that is free is creating them recommendation lists. And you could, send it in a note. You could create like a meme, or you could go on Canva where you can create any of the sort of images that I use for the podcast that talks about Forever Friday or a quote from the show. I make all those via Canva, and it's free. So you could go in there and you can make something, and it's a list of podcasts that you recommend. Like, I know that you would adore this podcast, or I know you're new to podcasts. These are the podcasts and the episodes I would start with. Here's a Spotify playlist of our relationship. Here are songs that will help you get through all of the cooking for Thanksgiving. Here's the songs that are going to make New Year's Eve the best night ever. Here's love songs. Here's anti-love songs. Here's breakup songs. I mean, there's so many different things that we can do. We can send book lists, music lists, movie lists, podcasts. Oh my goodness, there's so many things. And what could be really fun is to do it as a group and have each other create different lists for each other. And then you all come out with all sorts of lists of things. You could also do that. And I realize that there's Secret Santas, there's white elephants. And I remember when I was a kid going to my grandparents' house. Oh my goodness. Bless Ken and Kay's heart, man. They had 6 children, including my mother. All of those individuals were married, and all of them will now all have children. And, obviously as we age and things like that, more people are added into the family, more kids and so on. But we used to go and everyone would get presents for everyone else. And we would spend like 9 hours opening gifts. And finally someone was like, this is too much money. This is too much time. It's too much pressure. Like the car is full of all these gifts. We don't actually get to spend too much time with each other because we're just opening the gifts. And so they finally decided like a Secret Santa type thing. So each adult kid would pick another adult kid. You draw names for the kids. And then, of course, Grandma and Grandpa, they always got everyone something, which was nice. But that can be a lot of pressure. So one of the things that you could do is have people come together maybe for like a wine and cheese night and do like a recipe or a book exchange. So it's everyone use books and barter and do things like that. Or here are the recipes that I have for pies, or this is the family recipes that we have for Christmas or for Hanukkah. Here's the food that we always eat on New Year's Eve. Here's the way to eat your feelings on Valentine's Day, which I'm not making light of. I have done that, and so it's something fun. It's free. And even if you didn't have time to bring people together, like I want to know about all your pie recipes. I want to know about cool desserts you make for Hanukkah. I want to know about the special meals you eat on New Year's Eve. So you could, for example, go through your family recipes, find some really cool family passed down recipes or recipes you found online that have really been big hits and say, you know what, I'm going to put together, you get a set of recipe cards that's inexpensive, and then you write out those recipes and you give them to your friends. Now, friends, I think that we're all friends. So I think we could do a recipe exchange in the Facebook group. And now I'm really excited about it because I want to know what pies you make. I want to know about unique desserts and family traditions and things like that, because those are things that you can pass on and share with your friends and can be a lot of fun. And again, you don't have to break your bank. Not everything has to be expensive. Or just when you do a gift, maybe you have a limit on money, or you think about, okay, what is going to be something that's the most special? So one of the things is, I think it was episode 4 when all my Murderino friends were on. There's 6 of us. We do a Christmas exchange, and we do it in January when we can afford it, or we can better afford it. And then we each have one person. So that doesn't, again, break the bank. And it doesn't always have to be. That's the thing about holidays that I think can be a lot of pressure, is that it focuses all on this certain time. It has to be on this day. And it's like, that's when paychecks are the lowest, or they come at the wrong times, or there's too much stress. And so it's like, you know what? Do friend Thanksgiving on a different day. Do friend Valentine's Day. Well, Valentine's is the 13th. Do a Christmas or Kwanzaa thing on a different day. It doesn't matter. As long as you do it together, then that's what makes your relationship special. It's like your own traditions. It's showing that you care, that even though on this day I'm going to be with family, that we can find our own day for ourselves. Which leads us into our last love language, which is quality time. Much like words of affirmation, I think this is going to be really popular among people who are listening right now, but also one that makes a lot of sense for friends, right? That not only do we get together to talk words of affirmation, but that friendship is about enjoying time together. So there's lots of things that you can do, and I decided to talk about this topic last because I think it encompasses a lot of the things that we've already discussed. So for acts of service, you can volunteer together. That also counts as quality time. Physical touch, go get pedicures. That's also quality time, right? During the holiday season, there might be special things that you can do, like going to see different light shows or going and driving through neighborhoods and having coffee, get each other a coffee or tea and then drive through and look at things together. That's quality time. You can go shopping. You can run errands together. You can window shop when you're like, well, can't afford anything yet, but let's see what we want to do, right? And obviously there's things that are more specific to, say, Christmas, like caroling. I swear to God, I've only seen caroling in Christmas movies and Hallmark movies. I don't think I've actually ever seen it in real life. Do people out there carol? Like, if you do, tell me about it. I want to know everything. But you could go ice skating together. You could go get hot chocolate together. You could go for a winter hike together. You can make decorations together. So in the episode that focused on ideas for maintaining friendship during summer, one of the things that I brought up was having a crafternoon, right? And that's something that you can do. A lot of times people make things for the holidays, like for families and their children and so on and so forth. That might be something that you can do together. You can create a bucket list together. So not only are you spending quality time going over the bucket list, but then you're creating time for each other in the future by crossing off the items on the bucket list, right? You can think about New Year's Day, maybe thinking about doing New Year's resolutions, coming up with the word of the year, manifesting together, coming up with, affirmations that you want to have for the year. It might be like, what's my plan of action? What goals do I want to achieve? Maybe you make vision boards together. There's so many things we can do at different times. Like, so you think about Thanksgiving, maybe it's making pies together. At Christmas, maybe it's going caroling together, which I'm still not sure if actual people do. But maybe at New Year's Eve, it's the bucket list and coming up with goals. And Valentine's Day is just eating waffles because on Parks and Rec, it's work, friendship, and waffles, and not necessarily in that order, right? That's Galentine's Day, right? So there are many things that you can do together. Now, I know you're probably going, well, it's not like we're always in the same space and we can go run errands together. Well, when you're at a great distance, or even if you're in the same town but you're too busy, you can schedule FaceTime events. And my friend Sarah, who was in the Like a Trek Likes episode, her and her friend Jen FaceTime and they play games together. And to me, board games and game nights and things like that is always something that I associate with New Year's Eve and New Year's Day. Like staying home, staying cozy, playing games and having fun. So maybe you do a murder mystery party, but you can Skype someone in, right? Or as you're cooking your pies, you have FaceTime and you're both cooking at the same time, or while you're wrapping presents, or whatever the case is, you can think about FaceTiming and having that quality time with a friend while you're doing something else. And you can both be doing something else. And so you're being more thoughtful about your to-do list. You're spending that great time together, and you're just knocking the holidays out of the park. I mean, 2019, 2020, we're making it happen. So really think about, what are your love languages? What are the sort of things that really fulfill your needs? And what are the love languages of your friends and loved ones? What's really going to fulfill their needs? And once you do that, which you could do together, have some quality time, then you can be more thoughtful and more specific in the things that you do for them over the next several months or over the years. And so, friends, don't forget about your friends during the holidays. Think about what their love languages are and fulfill their needs, because without our friends, who would we be? Thanks for listening to Best Forevers. If you like what you hear, be sure to subscribe, rate, review, and of course, share with a friend. Please be sure to follow Best Forevers on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at Best Forevers Pod, and I'm at Dr. Alysa Lucas on Twitter. You can always find the podcast webpage for more information at bestforeverspod.com and share your stories of friendship by emailing me at bestforeverspod@gmail.com. And if you'd like to support the movement to love on our friends more, check out the podcast on patreon.com/bestforeverspod. Now, friends, check out this recommended podcast that you must get in your ear holes immediately.
Hey, this is Liz.
Hey, this is Heather.
And we are Nerdy Bitches Podcast,
a show where two geeky ladies podcast their way through pop culture.
From movies and TV to our regular book club and everything in between, we bring you our favorite fandoms with a feminine eye.
We are talking Star Wars, Star Trek, DC, Marvel, comic books, and anime.
And don't forget sci-fi, fantasy, action movies, video games, D&D, board games, and so much more.
Be sure to check us out on Apple Podcast, Google Play, Stitcher, Podbean, or wherever you find awesome podcasts.
You can also find us hanging out on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, Pinterest, and at nerdybitches.com.
See you soon.